Well, welcome into Wednesday Night Live, guys. So glad you are here with us tonight. And if you were here with us last week, I hope you guys enjoyed the game night that we did. We had a ton of fun. Mm-hmm. For those of you that won prizes, your prizes should have already been mailed to you. If you've received them and you're here tonight, would you just throw something in the chat for us so we know that you actually got those things from us?
That'd be awesome.
That'd be just good confirmation for us, especially Ethan Dalma. If you're on tonight.
He just said he got us.
Yes. Ethan, we'd love to get a picture of you wearing that mystery T-shirt from Walmart. I had fun picking that out for you.
I was gonna say it was Jordan's choice.
It was
I had
my
nothing
choice.
to do with it.
I went to Walmart by myself and picked it out by myself.
Nice.
But Clara got hers. That's awesome. Yeah, Tyler won the zebra cakes last week, and I drove them to his house and handed them to him at the door. He got a zebra cake delivery.
It's like pizza, but zebra cakes.
Yeah, and then Anna Rose won the pizza, and she got free pizza Friday night from JW students.
Nice.
She got a pepperoni and cheese pizza from Toppers.
Nice.
And apparently it was...
I love Toppers.
It was good.
I'm sure it was.
I'm sure it was. It was pizza. I mean, what
Pizza's
else can you
pizza.
ask? It's pizza. So, anyway, glad you guys are here with us. If you weren't here with us last week, we're glad you're here this week. And tonight we got a lot of fun things planned for you, an awesome message. The first thing we want to do is we do want to actually get into a game time tonight. And it's a different game we've never played before, whether we've been live here at church or online. And the name of that game is Before You Were Born. And I should probably put the title slide on so you can't see the first question. So this is going well. So the name of the game is Before You Were Born. A fact will come up on the screen, and it's your guys' job to say whether you're born before or after the date on the fact. Pretty self-explanatory. No winners, no losers, just you and the fact. So, were you born before or after this first fact? We'll give you a couple seconds. So Google purchased YouTube for $1.65 billion. Do you think you were born before or after that date?
What year were you born?
1990. Thank you very much.
Oh.
All right. The answer is October 9th, 2006.
Wow.
So I think our juniors and seniors were probably born before that, but anybody younger than that's probably born after that.
Yeah, probably. I was 10.
Well, no, let's see. It's 14 years. Yeah, so maybe our sophomores too, and maybe some of our older freshmen. Next one. Apple launched iTunes. Do you think you were born before or after Apple launched iTunes? 3, 2, 1. Apple launched iTunes on April 28th in 2003. Wow. So I'd say most of our students were probably born after that.
Yeah,
except our
probably.
senior class. Next one. The platform we're using right now, YouTube, was created. Do you think you were born before or after YouTube came into existence? 3, 2, 1.
A lot of afters.
Yeah, YouTube was created February 14th, Valentine's Day, in 2005.
Oh, what a good Valentine's Day gift.
15 years later, here we sit doing a live stream on YouTube. Who'd have thunk it?
Who would have thunk?
Who'd have thunk? Our favorite, Bookface, was launched. I mean, Facebook. Were you born before or after Facebook was launched? What do you think?
Lots of afters again.
Lots of afters. I think my screen just glitched out on me here. Sorry about that. Here we go. Facebook was launched actually back in 2004. So it's been around for a long time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Facebook was originally intended just for like college students.
I think it was. It was like
an IM system, like instant messenger, like just for college age kids. Well, that has changed quite a bit. Apple released the first iPhone. A lot of us have iPhones, myself included.
Me too.
Do you think you were born before or after the first iPhone was released? Michelle Woodman, I love all of your answers.
I saw that.
You are probably right. So Apple released the first iPhone on June 29th, 2007. I was going into my senior year of high school.
I was 11.
Do we have any American Idol fans out there watching tonight? If so, drop a thumbs up emoji in the chat. The next one is for you guys. Kelly Clarkson won the first season of American Idol.
Love me some
Kelly Clarkson won the first season of American Idol.
It feels forever ago, honestly.
It's been a while. Let's just say that. The answer is September 4th, 2002.
Wow.
18 years ago, the first American Idol season. Kelly Clarkson won that. All right, our ever favorite resource that we use for online research projects, Wikipedia, was created.
You were gonna say Google.
Well, Google, yeah. Well, Wikipedia was created. Do you think you were born before or after Wikipedia was created? This one, my teachers when I was in school said I couldn't use Wikipedia as a source because people can edit it. They can just log in with a free account on Wikipedia.
People can make a Wikipedia about us.
Like, please don't do that. How did I do that? Well, that doesn't give them an exact date. 2001. This one's been around for almost 20 years. All right, here's a movie reference. This one makes me feel really old. Toy Story 2 hit the theaters.
This one made me feel old.
Toy Story 2 hit the theaters. What year do you think it was? And do you think you were born before or after Toy Story 2 was in the theaters?
Someone blew my mind.
It did. Yeah, I remember watching this movie. I didn't think it was this date. November 24th, 1999. We were prior Y2K.
I was 3 years old.
None of you students were even born. You weren't even a thought at that point.
Max went, whoa.
Whoa. Like mind-blowing emoji. SpongeBob SquarePants, his first TV episode premiered. Do you think you were born before or after this date?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Cameron, yes, you're right. Whoa, that is old.
Whoa.
Rachel, you are correct. They are still babies compared to us. Yes.
Lots of afters.
All right, here we go. SpongeBob, first episode aired May 1st, 1999. They're coming up on their 21-year anniversary on Friday.
That's crazy.
SpongeBob's been around for 21 years?
Isn't that weird to think about?
He'd be in college right now. A junior in college.
Almost done with college.
SpongeBob's a junior in college. If he was born like the first episode, which I don't think he was.
I think he was like a normal age.
I didn't watch much SpongeBob, but I don't think he was born in the
I
first
watched
episode.
SpongeBob. He was a normal age.
All right, Grant Cravey, I know you're out there watching tonight. I've seen you in the chat window. You better get this one right. Just saying. Sony released the PlayStation 2 video game console. For all you video game peeps out there, I know you know your stuff. Do you think you were born before or after the PS2?
Hi, Paul. I see you out there.
Hey, Paul Berthium.
I think a normal age
Pastor Paul.
for SpongeBob would be like, I don't know, a teen. I don't know, but he drives a boat car.
I don't know. Does he ever get his license? He takes his license.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
He takes his test to get his boat license, so he had to have been like a teenager.
I would say teenager.
I mean, his humor would match a teenager.
Yeah, that's
for the
true.
most part. Or a guy like me that's trying to stay young and hip and rad. All right, this is the last question. So here's the last answer for this one. March 4th, 2000,
Jeez.
the PS2 came out. And we're on PS4 right now? I don't think there's
20
a
years ago.
Yeah, I don't think there's a PS5 yet. Again, I'm not a huge video game guy, so I'm not sure. So somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for playing along with that game. You're making us feel old, which is great. We hang out with you because you make us feel young.
True.
So we'll just say that. that'll be our consolation prize for the night. Is that
Good job making us feel young.
You guys keep us young. All right, so we are going to get into a time of teaching tonight. So if you haven't already, take some time to go run and grab your Bibles. You got a few minutes to do that. We are going to be in an awesome story tonight, and we're going to be talking about the book of Daniel. And we're going to be looking at three characters, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And no, I did not just sneeze 3 times in a row. That is their names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It's a great story if you've never heard it, if you've never read it in the Bible before. And if you're like me and Kenzie, Grace didn't grow up with this, but we grew up with the Veggietales. And this was one of the most well-known Veggietales I can remember growing up as a kid, a story of Shadrach, and Benny working for Mr. Nezer. Yeah, bless me. Working for Mr. Nezer at the chocolate factory. So we're going to watch this little clip because they sang a song in this episode that is forever ingrained in your brain. If you've
now
ever
it's stuck
seen
in my
this.
head.
Yeah, it's going to be stuck in your head forever. So we're going to share with you just a very short clip of a song that came from the Veggietales movie or episode about Shadrach, and Benny. It's called The Bunny Song. So enjoy this.
Bunny, the bunny, whoa, I love the bunny. I don't love my mom or my dad, just the bunny. The bunny, yeah, I love the bunny. I gave everything that I had for the bunny.
It's cringeworthy.
It makes me feel awkward.
It's cringeworthy. I mean, it's like 90s. It's like a Michael Jackson music video in the background.
I said his voice sounded like Jordan if he tried to make his voice very low.
I don't want nobody to come out and play. I'll sit on my sofa, eat bunnies all day.
So that,
See?
yeah, I heard that song a lot growing up, and it's still in my brain. So there, just for your viewership tonight, is like a 20-second clip of
You learn something
the
new
song that
every
will
day.
forever be stuck in my brain, the Bunny Song from Veggietales. So that's how I grew up listening to this story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Was just listen to singing, talking vegetables.
Nice.
What about you? Do you remember Bible stories about this as a kid?
Yeah, we had little books when we were little, and it was like kid Bibles. So we read through there.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned about it.
And it was really tuned down, like G-rated
Oh
stories.
yeah, very tuned down. I couldn't pronounce any of these names when I was
little.
little.
Not talking vegetables that work at a chocolate plant.
No. Oh goodness. Well.
So there's that.
The book of Daniel tonight, actually.
Yes, let's actually talk about
the
book of
let's get
Daniel.
back.
Yeah.
The book of Daniel is actually in the Old Testament, and it's during the time of when the Israelites were being held captive by King Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon.
Yeah, so we begin chapter 1 in Daniel being introduced to 4 of the main characters in the whole story. Daniel himself, and then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But those weren't their names originally. Their Hebrew names are Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So we're going to focus on the last 3, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego this week. Next week, we're going to talk about Daniel specifically. These are strong, handsome, wise young men that were taken captive from their homeland in Israel by the king of Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar. And they're brought into Babylon to be trained, to be brought up in scholarship and wisdom of Babylon. They're taught the language and all these things. And but the first thing that happens when they get to Babylon is that the king changes their names. And it's a very important thing for us to think about tonight, is that the first thing when they go to Babylon is the king changes their names.
Yeah, and we looked into it a little bit on why their names were actually changed. And the purpose of changing their names was so that they would forget everything that they knew from their home life and their past life, right?
Yeah.
They were trying to create a new identity for these men working for the king.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about the fact that they were Jewish men.
Yeah.
Served God, the king of or the God of Israel, and they come to Babylon. The king's like, you know what? Forget about who you were. This is who you are now, and that just wipe it all away. It's just crazy to think about. So, but these are guys that didn't want to forget where they came from. No, they take the names, we don't know that they gave any pushback to the name changes, but they don't change their ways. They are still committed to God. They're still obeying him, even in a foreign land. And they make this resolve or this dedication to God that, you know what, we're in a foreign country where it's popular to do these things and to not serve you, but we're going to serve you and we're going to continue to be obedient to God, even in the midst of all these hard things that we're seeing around us, the sin that's all around us. And so they make these choices to just continue to obey God and be faithful to him, even in a foreign country where that's not the most popular decision.
Yeah, and one of these decisions was this choice was actually their dietary restrictions.
Right off the bat.
Yeah, right away they were offered food and wine from the king's table, and they turned it down actually and asked for vegetables and water because Jewish people had different restrictions compared to the people of Babylon. So these men for 10 days eat veggies and water and drink water.
Yum.
And of course they come out healthier, obviously. Have you eaten some junk food on this quarantine? I know I have.
I have eaten more chocolate in the last 6 weeks than I think I did all of last year.
And how have you felt after you eat that?
Not great.
Not my stomach hurts. But when I eat a nice salad or a nice hearty meal, I feel way better and healthier and better about myself. And these men came out way better. And so they were given a higher ranking because they were stronger, more fit, and ready to go.
Yeah, so they were offered literally the best of the best.
Yes.
The king would get the best food, the best wine, because he's the king. And he says, you know what? You guys can have everything that I have. So you can have the top notch, everything's good. And they turn it down.
Yeah.
But they do it because they know that's not healthy for them.
Yes.
They make a decision, that's all well and good that you offer us that, but we know that there's something better for us. So for that 10-day testing period, they do that, and they come out so much healthier. They go through the 3 years of testing. They're so wise, like you said, the king puts them in command in Babylon because they came out higher ranking. Now, one very important thing we have to realize when we're talking about this King Nebuchadnezzar, or if we just reference him as king tonight, it's because his name is...
I can't spell it.
Can't spell it. Sometimes it's hard to say. Is it Knezer or Knezer? Or anyway, this dude was a hothead.
Yeah.
King Nebuchadnezzar was not the nicest guy.
He was like a toddler.
In a grown man's body.
He had temper tantrums.
He did. Just a hothead, blow his top at the snap of a finger. Just not a guy you'd want to get on the wrong side.
No way.
So anyway, there's a very important transition piece here. So chapter 1 is where we get introduced to the characters, the 4 guys in particular. They have their little training session. They go into their training and all that stuff. Then in chapter 2, which we're going to skip over a little bit tonight, King Nebuchadnezzar has a dream.
Yeah.
And specifically, Daniel is involved, but also Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But we're going to save that for next week when we talk about Daniel. But there's one important thing from this dream that the king has that you have to think about as we move forward into chapter 3 tonight, is that in his dream, there's a statue. That's all we're going to say. There's a statue that's mentioned in the dream, and just keep that in mind as we move forward.
Correct. So it's a big statue.
Big statue.
And then in chapter 3, it comes back because King Nebuchadnezzar created a 90-foot statue of gold.
So it's not a dream anymore. Now it's reality.
Nope, it's real life.
Yeah.
And he made the statue so it could be idolized and worshipped by all the people in the region. And this isn't the first time we see idolization in the Bible, right?
Nope.
I mean, a few weeks ago, I think, we talked about Elijah and how he shot down all of the false idols and was like in conversation and with King Ahab.
Yep.
And it's just everywhere. There's a lot of temptation for idolization in the Bible.
Yeah, and again, it shows up in Babylon, which this isn't the first and only time it's going to happen in the story of Babylon as a nation. But I think it's easy for us, as we were studying this passage for this week to give this message, it really hit me hard that I think it can be all too easy for us when we're reading the Bible and we're reading these historical narratives of stories of people that lived, like really lived, they're real people that lived and died and had life, that it's easy for us to look at them and say, how in the world could you worship that idol? Like, it's blatantly obvious that this is not God.
Yeah.
It's a gold statue. Like, it's not God.
Yeah.
Like, how can you just bow down and worship this? Now, when I was thinking about that and processing that, I think the Lord convicted me that just because I can't see my idols doesn't mean I don't have them.
Yeah,
I think it's true for all of us. We all have things in our lives that we idolize, whether that be sports, celebrities, our image, our reputation, whatever it is. If there's something in our lives that we put as our number one priority, that is maybe all we think about or all we spend our money on. Money is a huge idol for a lot of us, and that one like fluctuates on the list of if I feel financially stable, then it's good. It's down farther. But if I'm struggling a little bit, I put it at the top because I have to like earn
top
it.
Priority.
It's top priority. So then God gets shifted out of his place. It gets messy really fast. So I think one thing I want us all to think about tonight is that we all have idols.
Yeah.
Whether we see them in a physical form or not, we have to constantly be on guard and guarding our hearts from idolizing things or people or ourselves even, and just making sure that we're not practicing idol worship when we're not worshiping God as the one true God.
Yeah.
So those are just a few things in our lives that we can have as idols in our lives, but we just need to be very careful that we're constantly checking our hearts. Like, is this something that's taking over all my time and my energy and my thought process? Maybe I need to like take a step back and see if this is actually in the right priority, and if is it an idol, and do I need to like take it off its throne and put God back where he needs to be?
Yeah, totally. And so at this moment in the story, people are asked to bow down to this statue, right?
So
they're
the
asked to
created,
idolize it.
Statue's created.
Yes.
It's up.
And they're supposed to do this when they hear music.
Yep.
Like that bunny song you heard.
Yeah, hopefully it was better than that. But.
Yeah, hopefully. And so when this music goes off, all the people of different languages and different regions everywhere just fall down on their knees and start worshiping this idol, this statue. But there are 3 people who do not. And I'm sure you all could guess who they are. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Bless you.
Thank you. It was a hard tongue twister to say.
So they were told you have to bow down and worship this idol. And it wasn't just that. There was a penalty if you didn't bow down and worship this.
Yes.
So again, remember, King Nebuchadnezzar blows his top, hot temper. You don't follow my way. It's my way or the highway. That's this kind of guy. Like, that's who he is. So he says, okay, if you don't want to bow down and worship, you've got one choice. You get thrown into a blazing furnace.
That's scary.
So from the beginning, it's pretty clear that there's one way to live through this thing, and it's to bow down and worship this idol. So he makes it like unescapable. Like, you can't escape not worshiping it because you're going to die if you go in the furnace. But of course, our 3 guys that we're talking about tonight, they don't bow down.
Correct.
And again, these guys had gone through all the training. They were in King Nebuchadnezzar's administrative roles in the kingdom. These are like high-ranking guys. So people see them not obeying the king. They're like, what's up with that? Like, we have to bow down, but
they don't.
They don't
they
have
like
to.
Call them out.
Yeah, just call them out like tattletales, which makes sense in a kingdom
if
like
they're
that where
working for a king.
Yeah, if you're working for the king, you probably should do what the king is saying to do. But they don't. And so they knew they would have been standing right there when the king said that. Like, as soon as the music's done playing, you bow down and worship.
Yeah.
So they heard that. They knew what was going to happen if they didn't, and yet they chose not to. They chose to be committed to God and obedient to him. So the king gets super mad, throws his temper tantrum like he always does. And he calls them in, and he gives them another chance. He's a little bit gracious, and he says, you know what? I'll kind of overlook the first time, and maybe you just didn't hear what I said or whatever. I don't know what he said because it doesn't tell us in the Bible, but if we're in the story, he just says, you know what? I'll give you one more shot. When the music's playing, you bow down and you worship. If not, you're going in the furnace. It's just that simple. And we're going to read here in chapter 3. Which is why we want you guys to have your Bibles out if you want to turn to Daniel chapter 3. So the king has just given them this second chance. He tells them again what the rules are. Like, I'm going to play the music, and you're going to bow down, and you're going to worship, or you're going in the furnace. So he just gets finished saying this, and we catch up with their response here in chapter 3, verses 16 through 18. So again, Daniel chapter 3, 16 and 18, or through 18, and Grace is going to read that for us right now, and you guys can follow along if you have your Bibles with you.
Yep, so starting in verse 16, it says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it all, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods and worship the image of gold you have set up.
Talk about the courage that it would take to look the king in the face.
Terrifying.
He's giving you 2 shots now. He's giving you 2 opportunities to say, okay, we'll just listen to you and we'll bow down and we'll worship. And yet they said no.
Yeah.
Again, for a second time. The courage that they had, the fact that they can say, we trust our God, that he will save us and he is able to save us. But the thing that really hit me hard this week as I was studying for this, and I've read this story many times, seen the Veggietales movie, whatever. It's not just that they say we believe that God can save us. It's the fact that they say, but even if he doesn't, even if God chooses not to save us, we're still not going to bow down to you. We're still going to worship God. Yeah. And just again, we talked about the resolve a few minutes ago, that these guys just had this conviction in their life, this faith of, okay, God is the only option. And anything else besides him is subpar, and we don't want anything to do with it. And that is exactly the attitude that they brought to the king in this second chance that they had here. It just blows my mind. And that's the kind of faith that I want to have, and I want everyone to have, is that we can stand at the face of the furnace and say, you know what? Whether God gets me through this fire or not, I'm trusting him. And I'm going to obey him, and I'm not going to choose any other path. And that is huge. That is something to be admired. That kind of faith. That's crazy
it's like
faith.
The mic drop of the
like, okay, walk away.
Yeah, totally. So after they refuse a second time,
yep,
King Nebuchadnezzar is not happy again. Continually not happy.
This is a bad day for him.
Bad day for King. And so then at this point, he heats the furnace 7 times hotter than the original temperature it was supposed to be.
Yeah, so if they weren't going to be dead in the regular temperature, I might as well make sure they're really dead. And make it really, really hot.
For sure. And so the part that when I was reading it, I was like, holy cow, is the guards that were walking the 3 men to throw him into the furnace died while walking them there because it was so hot.
Yeah.
I don't even want to imagine how hot that is. I do bad in Wisconsin summer.
Well, I mean, they would have used this furnace for probably like making bricks and clay, all that kind of stuff, like baking. I don't even know the thousands of degrees it would have been. But just poof, those guys are gone. Yeah. Because they walked them up there and it was too hot for them to handle. So the guys die.
Yeah, they're thrown into this fire.
They're thrown into the fire, and King Nebuchadnezzar is sitting there. Probably, I don't know if he's on his throne, or I don't know where the furnace was located in the palace, or whether it was in the palace or whatever. And all of a sudden, he's like, guys, how many did we throw in the furnace? And they're like, 3. And he's like, 1,
Why is
2.
there
There's
4.
4 in there right now. So they're in there, and it says an image of a man like the Son of God or Son of Man comes in there. So we don't know if it's Jesus. We don't know if it's an angel. We don't know what it is, but it's someone,
in there.
A messenger from God to protect them. So the king is just sitting there like, what the heck is going on? Like, get those guys out of there. So he yells at them like, guys, get out of the fire. And they just come strolling out like yeah, like nothing ever happened.
They showed like no signs of burns on their skin. Their hair wasn't like scorched.
They still had all their clothes on. Like
it was totally normal for them.
Like they didn't even smell like a hot dog over a campfire. Like when you go like whatever you're at like a campfire and you just like you're making hot dogs or s'mores and you get home and you're like, oh dude, I smell like smoke.
It lives in my hair.
They didn't even stink. Like it was like they just like fell into a bubble inside there and they were protected. It's just crazy. Just crazy. So the truth that we want you guys to hear in that is they had the resolve, they had the obedience, they had the faith to say, you know what, we're going into this fire. God can save us if he wants, and if he doesn't, we're still going to be obedient to him. Mm-hmm. And I think that what we need to know is that God is always with us, even in the fire, and he proved that so evident in this story. Whatever fire we're going through in life, some of us are feeling fire right now.
Yeah.
Whether that be what all of us are feeling as a society right now with, continuing to be safer at home and the restrictions that are in place and not being able to be present in youth group and those types of things, or if you've got something going on in your family with a loved one that's sick or job loss or your friend's situation is all messy. Like we all go through different periods of our lives where there's a fire and it gets hot and it just doesn't feel good, whether that's self-induced fire from sin that we've committed. And it's just like, man, I'm dealing with the consequences of that action I took that I knew was wrong.
Yeah.
And this is a fire. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knew and trusted that God could be with them even in the fire. And I think that's just really important for us to understand too. At our core is that whatever we're going through, that God he's right there with us in the fire. He doesn't leave us even when it gets to its hottest point.
Yeah, totally. And I think something else that we all wanted to have you guys think about as we almost close the night off is that we all live in Babylon.
We do. We live in a foreign land.
Like we each make a daily decision to follow God.
Yep.
We have the option to either worship those idols in our life, like money, reputation, popularity, or we have the option to take the next steps forward with God and pursue that relationship every single day.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something that we need to remember and remind ourselves on what decision we're making every day. But we also need to remember that God proves his sovereignty and mercy, and if we're faithful to him, he will deliver us just like he delivered them from the fire.
Absolutely. And one thing I think we want you to understand too is that this is not a prosperity message.
Yeah.
In the sense that, these guys came out of that fire. The king was, so that's something we're kind of leaving out of the story. They come out of the fire. The king is like, what in the world? Your God must be the one true God. And so he promotes them again. So they go through this fire. They go through this persecution, basically, and they get promoted again in Babylon. But they didn't change.
Yeah.
That fire didn't change who they were. They didn't come out of that fire and say, okay, king, now we're going to follow your gods. Mm-hmm. They continue to be faithful to God. And I think it's just important for us to understand that we have a choice, like you said, and we're gonna face things. It's just inevitable.
Yep.
And but we have each other to go through these battles together. We have each other to go through these fires together, and the fire's never too hot.
Yeah.
For God either.
When you talk about having each other too, I talked to you earlier about this week is like we as Christians are called to be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yeah.
We got to walk into that fire. When I see Jordan in a fire, I'm going to walk in there and support him as a friend,
right.
Yep. So you guys have the opportunity to do that this week or continuing on in the next couple of weeks. When you see a friend that's maybe struggling, step into that and support them and be there for them,
Yeah.
Show them what community really is.
Yeah. And, talking about like the prosperity message, these guys were delivered in that fire, a physical fire in their life. Mm-hmm. Some of us are facing things or have faced things, and we don't necessarily feel like we got our reward from God for being obedient, like in a physical sense. Like some of our rewards we may not actually receive here on earth. The Bible is very clear that every time we are obedient to God, he's storing up treasures for us in heaven. If we are followers of Christ, he's preparing a wonderful, beautiful, glorious place for us. And every time that we're obedient to him, he is stockpiling that in our treasure in heaven. So some of us may face fires in our lives. And I can point you to a couple in my life where I don't know that I'm ever going to see the result or the reward from that here on earth. But I know that God was watching, and I know that he saw my faithfulness, even if it was quiet obedience and no one ever knew. That he's going to reward me for that. And that's worth continuing to pick up my cross every single day and fight for what is right and fight to follow God in every situation. So
Totally.
again, if you're in the fire and you need somebody to talk to, we're always here. Students at jacobswellchurch.church. Email us, call us, text us, Facebook, Instagram. We don't have TikTok. Sorry for all you TikTok users. That's probably not the best platform to even reach out to somebody anyway. But
No.
we're here for you in the fire. We're kind of in a fire season right now, trying to figure out what life looks like and when we can be back together and all that jazz that's along with that. So that is what we have tonight for you guys for our message. We've been closing every single week with a prayer. Tonight is no different. Tana found an awesome prayer for us to share with you guys tonight, and I just want to close with that, so I'm going to read that for us here. And then we've just got a couple really quick closing announcements after the prayer. So would you guys just bow your heads and pray with us tonight? Our Father, you are so wonderful, and we worship you. You are the source of a river of love and grace that transforms the world. We offer you our young hearts, our minds, and our bodies. Would you help us to grow in the goodness of your kingdom? May we shine out in times of darkness, stand safely upon the truth, and not be shaken. And see your vision for the world and follow you. Come use our energy to care for the lost. Come take our creativity to meet with the brokenhearted. Come use our youthfulness to bring joy and peace, and your hope to bring light to everyone. Amen.
Amen.
So just a couple really quick announcements before we leave you guys tonight. And one big thing that we're making a change is we want to encourage you guys to check out midweek worship. So Joshua and his team and Kenzie and Matt and all of our worship team are collaborating for midweek worship that is published on Wednesday afternoons. We're going to throw a link in the description of this video after it's done live streaming, so you can go back and grab that link to the video, but just really engage with that. I would highly, highly encourage you. It's well produced, awesome content, very reflective worship for the middle of our week to just get a centering point where it's like I'm between Sunday and Saturday and I need something in the middle of the week to listen to. I just highly encourage all of you guys to go check video as soon as this gets posted. And then also, if you haven't already checked out our online platform on the weekends, for our 9 o'clock and 10:45 service, we are online just like this in a different platform. We're chatting it up. Yeah. So Grace and I are there every single week as hosts, just checking things out, saying hi to families. I know a few of you are on there. We've already said hey to you and checked in on you.
Give us a shout out. We want to see you guys on there.
Yeah, we want to see you on the online platform. But yeah, seriously, take that as an awesome next step to engage not only in Wednesday Night Live with us here and our content that we deliver, but Pastor Paul or whoever is teaching. It's been Pastor Paul, but every single week, just awesome content. We're going through a series about prayer right now called When We Pray, going through the Lord's Prayer. Super good. Again, another call to just deepen our prayer life in this time where we have of reflecting on what's going on in our world. So we love to see you online this weekend, 9 o'clock, 10:45, just like if we were physically in the building. Those are our service times. Just check it out. We'd love to see you guys out there.
It's on the homepage.
Yeah, so go to jacobswellchurch.church, our website, and there's a big banner.
Right there.
Sunday morning, you click on it, you go in, you got your live stream, you got your chat.
You can request prayer on there, too.
Yeah, there's a live prayer chat. You can click it, and you'll get connected to somebody on the prayer team. They'll pray with you. It's just super awesome. And worship out of this world. Really good stuff. So thank you guys for being with us tonight, and we look forward to either seeing you on Sunday or seeing you next week for Wednesday Night Live. Love you guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.